All right, here we go. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajakacharya Ashtotar to Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajakacharya Ashtotar to Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai what is it? Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Just give me 1 second here. Okay. On this 24th day of June, 2024 in San Diego. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in that chapter 9, the most confidential knowledge, text 7, at the bottom of page 385. Sarvabhutani Kaunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam Kalpa Chaye Punasthani Kalpado Visvajami Aham Sarvabhutani Kaunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshihe Punasthani Kalpadao Visrajamyaham Sarvabhutani Kaunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshihe Punasthani Kalpadao Visrajamyaham Sarvabhutani Kaunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshihe Punasthani Kalpadao Visrajamyaham. Sarvabhutani Kaunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshihe Punasthani Kalpado Visrajamyaham. Go ahead, David.
Sarvabhutani Kaunteya
Sarvabhutani Kaunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshihe Punasthani Kalpado Visrajamyaham. Go ahead.
Sarvabhutani Kaunteya
Sarvabhutani Kaunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshihe Punasthani Kalpado Visrajamyaham.
Sarvabhutani Kaunteya
Sarvabhutani Kaunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshihe Punasthani Kalpado Visrajamyaham. Okay, word by words. Page 385 for you. 385. Did we cover it already?
Yeah, 9, 10 was today.
9 and 10? Beginning at 9.
10.
10? Wow. You're sure, huh? Okay, I guess I put this on the wrong one then. Anyway, we'll read the translation a little, since we chanted it. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I again create. All right, let me just do that again. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. I'm just going to read the translations up to 10. The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again, and under my will, it is annihilated at the end. O Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached from all these material activities, seated as though neutral. Okay, you can just repeat. We'll chant it once. We're on page 388, text 10. Mayadhyakshena prakriti. Let's try that again. Mayadhyakshena prakriti Suyate sacharacharam Hetunanena kaunteya Jagad vipadivartate. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Purport. It is clearly stated here that the Supreme Lord, although aloof from all the activities of the material world, remains the Supreme Director. The Supreme Lord is the Supreme Will and the background of this material manifestation, but the management is being conducted by the material nature. Krishna also states in the Bhagavad Gita that of all the living entities in different forms and species, quote, I am the Father. The Father gives seeds to the womb of the mother for the child, and similarly the Supreme Lord, by his mere glance, injects all the living entities into the womb of the material nature, and they come out in their different forms and species according to their last desires and activities. All these living entities, although born under the glance of the Supreme Lord, take their different bodies according to their past deeds and desires. So the Lord is not directly attached to this material creation. He simply glances over material nature. Material nature is thus activated, and everything is created immediately. Because he glances over material nature, there is undoubtedly activity on the part of the Supreme Lord, but he has nothing to do with the manifestation of the material world directly. This example is given in the Smriti. When there is a fragrant flower before someone, the fragrance is touched by the smelling power of the person, yet the smelling and the flower are detached from one another. There is a similar connection between the material world and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, he has nothing to do with this material world, but he creates by his glance and ordains. In summary, material nature, without the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, cannot do anything. Yet the Supreme Personality is detached from all material activities. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara. So Krishna is describing his connection and disconnection, if you will, from this material world. He's connected in so many ways. We discussed this earlier, and he also discussed it in this chapter, in previous chapters. If you just look around you and you think of this world in terms of what you read in the Bhagavad Gita, you see, well, okay, here's a manifestation of the energy of the Lord. A tree, for instance. The tree is there. It has a body made of wood, right, obviously. And that's part of the bhumi in this world. Krishna says in 7th chapter, Bhuma apo onano vayu kangmano buddhadevacha ankadiyatiyam binna pakadarashtada. These are all my energies, separated from me. Binna, material energies. Earth, you think solid matter. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, which is the space, mind, intelligence, and ego. And none of these are animate. Even our mind, intelligence, they're animated by the presence of the soul. But they are subtly material, the subtle material. So you have the tree, there's a lot of earth there, obviously, but you also have the sap running through. That's an essential element. There's liquid there. The soul is there. The living entity is there, animating. Otherwise, it wouldn't grow. You see? That's a sure sign that there's a soul in there when the body grows. And although it's difficult to conceive what's the consciousness of a tree, but there's a very rudimentary consciousness there. Maybe it's more obvious in the little insects. They're obviously thinking something, right? If you try to stop them, they'll get around you or they'll run, right? There's fear there. There's a little living entity there, and a mind and everything else. So these are the raw materials that are used by the Lord in his expansions, and by his delegated, so like Brahma, right, the creator, to welcome Hare Krishna. We're on page 388. Now, what is the Lord's actual interest here? Well, the interest is, as described here, that in this purport, that all of these living entities are his children. They're part and parcel of him. I don't want to say chip off the old block, but I just said it. But the idea is he was thinking of that. We have his qualities in minute degree. Specifically, consciousness, self-awareness, and intelligence, which is our special quality in all of the millions and millions. There's 8,400,000 species, but there's trillions and trillions of examples of them. And the human form is the one that has the greatest intelligence on the ordinary course of the earth. And that gift of the intelligence is what is our advantage, in which we can use to finally return to our original state. The whole point of Krishna consciousness is to first understand that we are not in our most perfected state in this life. There's no way of achieving eternal happiness in this body. No one even thinks of it like that. They say, well, maybe I'll go to heaven, and like that. But even we have our higher planets, for Indra Lokas there, that's also temporary. That's very explicitly explained in this very chapter. Chine punne majalokam vishanti. This is a line in the verse Krishna describing the futility of spending your time trying to perform sacrifices so you can go to Indra Loka and enjoy like anything. You may be able to go there if you do that right, if you follow the Vedic principles very strictly. But the ultimate result is, I can enjoy much better sense gratification. But ultimately, it's just like you buy the ticket by all these pious credits that you accumulate by good works and by sacrifice and all these different things. And then you cash it in, and you can go to Indra Loka for a limited amount of time. Just like if you go on vacation to Hawaii, say you're living in Maine, something, and you're dreaming of Hawaii. Maybe Maine is probably hotter than Hawaii, like the crazy, right? The climate is so. But anyway, you have some aspiration. It used to be, I don't know how much it is now, you aspire to move to San Diego, right? The day we had today reminded me of when I first moved here, which is like an eon ago in terms of the climate change. This was in 1989. And then, San Diego was known for, it's perfect weather. And I got here at the end of July. It was, it wasn't too hot. I come from Miami where it was too hot in summer. But it wasn't too hot here. It's warm, But then gradually we moved into the autumn. And it was ideal. Between 72 and 76 every day, no rain, blue skies like we had this morning. Finally, blue skies. Yeah, the June gloom is over. No, you'll see. We'll have it tomorrow, maybe. Anyway, but the point is, you can see why it's so attractive. People want to somehow move to San Diego. That's why it's impossible rents and so on. So that's a material desire. Somehow that I can improve my material condition. But it's a complete illusion. And it just by a little logic, you want to have, let's face it, we'd like to have ever-increasing eternal happiness, right? If we could. But as you live in this world, that's not really that possible, right? So at least let me try to succeed in this lifetime, so that I can be as comfortable as possible, I can live nicely and accumulate some wealth, as little anxiety as possible, right? Of course, then you have to deal with the body, and all of a sudden there's a pandemic. What do you mean a pandemic? Here in 2020? Haven't we conquered pandemics? No. There's a disease, a new mutation, and it may suffocate you. Really? And suddenly everyone is all over the world. The illusion of security and everything was wrecked for a while. Now people are starting to think, it's behind us, we're okay, everything is good. No, it's not. There's something else that'll get you. So the point is, that's what this world is made of. It's made of the illusion. This is Maya's trick. It's a huge con job to try to get you to think that you can be happy in this world through sense gratification. But logically, it doesn't make any sense, because you have to put out of your mind, just like probably the example of the rabbit. The lion's running toward the rabbit, or and he can't escape. He's quick, but he's not that quick. So what's the solution? All right, let me stick my head in the ground. I have a few minutes where I can forget that I'm doomed, you know. Like, it's silly. That's what Maya does. It creates a certain complete illusion that you can somehow be happy and safe and secure in this world, and it's constantly being wrecked. You know, if it's not one thing, if it's not disease, it's some grave disagreement with other people. That's why we have wars. You know, your own family members, either they can get sick, you know, and create a. There's a million different things that happen. I mean, they're happening all the time. So the only reason why people are still, you know, in the material, because they don't know any alternative. They don't know that there is another world, that there is a world called Vaikuntha, whose very name means no anxiety. No anxiety. That means there's no threefold miseries. There's no old age, disease, and death. And if you hear about that, you think, you know, there's several responses you can have. It says, yeah, right. You know, are you kidding me? That's just the pie in the sky. That's Pollyanna. You have to live in the real world, right, which is this world, you know, material world. No, this is the unreal. So how can we, how is it possible that this Krishna consciousness spread in America? Because it gives some, you know, really amazing things that you're supposed to believe in, you know. Nrsimhadev, you know, half man, half lion, you know, with 1,000 arms. Yes, we do. And why is that? Well, the main reason why for me it had so much credibility, you know, and it's still, of course, I believe in it, is because there are all of these exalted souls. These, you know, I mean, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Srila Prabhupada himself. And what about the 6 Goswamis? You know, were they all just in great illusion, Balayana? Is it a myth that they gave up, like Rupa, Sanatan, and Raghunath? You know, they were millionaires, what we would call millionaires today, even billionaires. I mean, for Rupa Goswami to like cash out and have a big boat full of gold, you know what that would be worth today? Billions of dollars. So what does he do? He gives half of it to the Brahmins and the Vaishnavas. He gives a quarter of it to the family, because they expect something. They can create havoc, and they get the family. And then a quarter of it, which is still billions, he put into the charge of, you know, this is amazing, a trustworthy grocer. I swear to God. It wasn't a bank or anything, you know. In case of emergencies. And it came in handy because his brother was arrested and put in jail. He was the prime minister. Rupa was the finance minister. So the king felt that he could probably do without the finance minister, but he couldn't do it without the prime minister. So he arrested him. Sanatana Goswami had quit his job. He told them that he was sick, you know, but they, you know, how long did that last? So they went and they found and they reported to the king, he doesn't look very sick to us. He's fine. He's at home with some Brahmins. So the king goes there and he finds Sanatana Goswami studying the Bhagavatam. That's what he was doing. He wasn't sick at all. So they go, you can't quit. You know, I got to go do a war. You have to manage the country. So he arrested him. So that was a problem. So the money was made available to Sanatana Goswami, and he very cleverly bribed the jail keeper to let him out. Gave him a story that he could tell, you know, a logical story, and off he went. He went to Varanasi, and then he met Lord Chaitanya in Benares, and he was instructed for 2 months, I believe. You know, so here you have a history that can be looked at. You know, and what are the character? You know, so first of all, they gave that up. So what did they do? They went to Vrindavan, and on the assignment of Lord Chaitanya, and they wrote books. And they kind of uncovered all the places of Lord Krishna's pastimes, because over the thousands of years they've been forgotten, buried, you know. So through various Babajis who were there and places, they were able to find out where this God is and everything like that. And when they stayed there so long, and so pious merchants would come, you know, who wanted to do some service. So they were going to give them money. What are we going to do with money? You know, they have nothing. They didn't even have homes, and they didn't even have their own tree. They stayed under a different tree each night. So they didn't, you know. So they didn't have any money. Okay, you got some money that you want to give for Krishna? Build a temple. And this is how these wonderful temples were built. The first was Madan Mohan, Sanatan Goswami built. And there was some miraculous well of pure water that was there. And I drank the water out of that well when I went to Vrindavan. It was, yeah. That's how I was able to learn all these shlokas. I mean, something of it. I don't know. But anyway, so, and you know, there were about 8 temples, I think, that they all had their temple. Radha Damodar temple. This was Gopal Bhatta. Gopal Bhatta was Radha Raman temple. But Jiva Goswami. And right near the place where the rasa dance was, the Seva Kunja. I remember, don't go in at night, you know. I went there in the morning, you know. I walked around. Very holy place. But Radha Damodar, all these books were stored there. And the Goswamis would meet there and they would chant, you know, they would say, hey, Sanatan, this is what I wrote. This is what I wrote yesterday. And they would chant and they would all go into ecstasy, you know. So the point was they showed by their lives, and Srila Prabhupada showed by their lives how they could lead very austere lives, but be very satisfied, very happy, very peaceful, and situated this knowledge that was given by Krishna and also by Lord Chaitanya, who was Krishna himself, living that and the erudition, the lifestyle. So this gives credence to it. This is they're telling this is all very real. And what you're experiencing here, which is obviously dissatisfying, is not peaceful, is problematic, is not the way you have to live. There's another way of living. And Krishna describes it here in the Bhagavad Gita. So this chapter is called The Most Confidential Knowledge, and Krishna is giving some basic principles here about his position officially in the universe and Mata's and this is a very, very often quoted verse. So let's just go through again. Maya Jakshena. Prakriti. Maya Jakshena, by me, Akshena, Aksha is eyes. So Jakshena is the superintendence. So he's superintending the workings of everything that's going on. Now don't forget that he expands as a super soul. He's present in all of our hearts and in every atom. You know, in this way he's sustaining it. Prabhupada always said, okay, we have the 3 Hindu trinity, you know, and if you go to school, there's a Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, right? So Vishnu is Krishna, and actually, so he's a Vishnu Tattva. You know, he's actually God. Brahma is not. He's a very, very qualified living entity. He's given that power, that power to create and to basically run the universe. You know, through the demigods, other demigods. So Vishnu. So Brahma creates. Shiva destroys famously. You know, the dance, Tandava Nritya, you know. Did you know that Lord Chaitanya, when he was dancing in Kirtan, he was like, remember Tandava Nritya? He was dancing so powerfully, you know, it's like, Tandava. So, but that famous dance, you know, immortalized in anyway, there's a representation of that. And he expands as the Rudras and destroys everything. But Vishnu maintains, and that is the most difficult job when you think about it. If you get it, you know, an inspiration, you can come and create something, and you can build a building. But do you want to maintain it and see it for the rest of your life? No, I'll sell it and go do another one. So maintenance is the most difficult when you see it, because something is going to go wrong, the pipes will break, this or that, you know. So Vishnu is maintaining through his expansions as a super soul, and all of these energies, and the demigods are also under him. And so that's what Krishna is saying. Maya Jakshena Prakriti. Prakriti in nature is working due to my overseeing it. Behind nature, and nature is not working automatically. There's an intelligence behind it, and that intelligence is Krishna's intelligence and will. Suyate Sacharacharam manifests the moving and the non-moving. So all the living entities, moving and non-moving. Moving and non-moving is not a perfect description. It's mobile and immobile. Mobile can be moving, but it can also mean ability to move on one's own. You see? The trees are not mobile. They have no mobility, you know? I mean, you can replant a tree. We had a banana tree back here for a long time. And we redid, you know, the whole patio and everything, and Maharaj is thinking, well, what are we going to do with banana seeds? So we replanted them in our farm up in Escondido. They're doing nicely, I understand. So how can you say the tree is not moving? It was moving when it was on the truck, but it's not mobile. You see, it has no mobility of its own, right? The moving and not moving, but you get the idea. So, Chadacharam, it takes everything, moving and not moving. Hetu nani, by that cause, Hetu is the cause. For this reason, O Kaunteya, O Arjun, Jagat Viparivartate. Viparivartate has the thing of working, a complicated machine working, and it's extremely complicated. So it needs a big brain, it needs intelligence at every moment to see the things that are going on. And that's coming from Krishna. Very important verse. Hetu nani Jagat Viparivartate. So this is a way of seeing. When you just walk around, from here to there, then you can see the world differently. Like I take my walk every I take this. It's become an essential part of my day. At 6:30, mostly every day, I walk up a Cass. It's very suitable because if someone comes, sometimes you see not just a person walking a dog. You see someone walk as a dog walker. They've got 3 or 4 dogs. And the sidewalk is wide, but it's not that wide, So I can just go right off because they have a nice bike lane, And at 6:30, no one's got a bike lane. It's just I can just walk right off, just give them the sidewalk and then get back on the sidewalk. It's very convenient. So I walk up, and it's a little incline, so it's a good exercise. I measured it as 0.65 miles up to Wilbur Street, and I don't know if you ever noticed. But there's 2 buildings that are huge, 11 stories. There's one right on the beach. But there's also an apartment building on Cass Street and Wilbur. That's also 11 stories. Now, why are there only 2? Because the people who run this town, the elders or whatever they are, they just said, no, we don't just want to become this Waikiki beach, where there's like huge hotels blocking everything. So there's a number of, like this one, I'm sure they would have loved to build 11 stories, but they could only build 2 stories, right? So that it doesn't create that mood in here, which is a relief. But so then I'm watching and I'm looking and I'm chanting Hare Krishna. The whole point is a japa, walk. I'm not just walking. And Prabhupada showed the way. The history is that Prabhupada, when the movement started going, he was 100%. He started in New York famously, but he had some real, qualified disciples, Mukunda and Shyamasundar. Mukunda was an expert musician. He was a professional, and Shyamasundar was just a expert organizer, And he went to San Francisco with Mukunda, and they had this idea: we'll have a mantra rock dance. This is the period when the rock and roll was very big. It's the late '60s, And we'll invite all the bands, the well-known bands, and they came. We had Moby Grape, which was, I think, an up-and-coming band, and Janis Joplin. I don't know if that name means anything. She was very big in the late '60s, Huh? Grateful Dead, yeah. So anyway, Shyamasundar largely organized it, and Mukunda was there, and so Prabhupada flew out for that, and he saw, well, here's a huge, place. They had tickets that they sold, which was good for the temple, and he was, leading the kirtan. All the bands were playing, and Kirtananda came out. Now he was his private secretary, and I think. Yeah, this was before he went back to India, but Kirtananda was there, and he was taking care of Prabhupada personally, and Prabhupada started to dance up and down, and Kirtananda saw that this was dangerous for his health, because he had 2 heart attacks on the boat, so he said, stop the kirtan. And everyone was kind of bummed out by that, but it was good, Prabhupada was able to leave, but it was very successful, and Prabhupada saw, it's not just a little storefront. We can get whole, auditoriums full of people chanting. And the epitome of that in America came in I think it was Philadelphia. No, I'm sorry, Columbus, Ohio. Very close to where they have their center now. And there's a university there, And the big thing was Prabhupada attracted the attention of Allen Ginsberg. Even today, that name rings a bell, right? He's a famous poet. He'd gone to India. He picked up the Hare Krishna mantra. He didn't know what, really much about it, but he liked chanting it. And when Prabhupada started chanting it, he was on the Lower East Side, and Alan was living nearby. He was fascinated. He came to the storefront. He met Prabhupada, and just that association catapulted Prabhupada's fame. New York Times had a big article because of that. The Swami chants the hippies or something like that. Prabhupada was very delighted because he knew the importance of the New York Times. So all this was going on. And Prabhupada, he came back to New York after a month or two. In San Francisco, there's video of this. He went out. They had he had Malati. So she went to one of the stores there, and there was a barrel full of these little figurines from India. So she stole one. That was the comment. She stole one. It was a little tiny. And she brought it back to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, what is this? And Prabhupada offered his obeisances. What? This is Jagannath. It was in the form of Jagannath, I swear. So Prabhupada said, are there any others? So she said, yes, she got back. She didn't know the story. She got back Subhadra and Balaram, So they had, maybe they were this big. So Prabhupada took Shyamasundar, can you make big ones of these? Because he was a good woodworker. She said, sure, So he was still smoking cigarettes, So Prabhupada came to see how he was doing. He was working on Jagannath and Balaram. He had the cigarette on Balaram. So Prabhupada said, take them off, He realized how strong that attraction could be. Try to quit gradually, one by one, try to give it up. He didn't just say, you're out, like that. No. So this is how it started. Then you had this temple with the Jagannath deities, and the hippies would coming, they would come at night. Jayananda would come in the morning and hear Prabhupada every morning speak alone. He was straight. Anyway, it's a wonderful story about how the movement started. And Prabhupada was preaching from the Bhagavad Gita. It wasn't printed right away. 1968, the first Bhagavad Gita came out. It was called the Bhagavad Gita as it is. I would love to have that title back again, rather than just Bhagavad Gita as it is. And all these Bhagavad Gitas, you may notice that when we come across a Bhagavad Gita mentioned in this book, it's the Bhagavad Gita. Just like the Quran, the Bible. If you said, oh yeah, I read Quran and Bible, you don't have much respect for the books. You see, the thing is that it's like Srimad in Srimad Bhagavatam. And at the end of each chapter, Prabhupada has Srimad Bhagavad Gita. You don't have need the then. Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Anyway, these are fine points. But the point is that Prabhupada, we could see, his presence. He was living the Bhagavad Gita. He was seeing the world in terms of the Bhagavad Gita. He saw each of us as potential devotees. No one was rejected on any external basis, the gender, age, race, whatever it was. This is how you should see. What is that? Samohang savabhuteshu name dveshosi na priya. Krishna speaks that about himself. But vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gabihastadi shuni chaiva sapakecha pandita sama darshinaha. The advanced Vaishnava sees the learned and gentle Brahman, vidya vinaya sampanne, Brahmani gabi hastini, the elephant, and the cow, hastini, shuni, the dog, shuni chaiva sapakecha, and the dog eater, all on the same level, in the sense that he sees that they're all spirit souls, you see? And they're all the children of God. None of them should be disrespected and should be injured in it by any means. So that kind of vision Prabhupada always had. And that's why he was accepted all over the world, because he saw that he was accepting them. He went to Africa, he accepted them, and he saw Brahmananda, he was preaching the natural thing, to preach to the Indians who were there, the diaspora, because they were, but he wasn't able to do anything with the natives. So no, he was preaching to the native, and he had, let's have a big kirtan, we'll invite them to chant and dance and take prasad. And they packed the place, and that was the beginning. This is in Kenya, I think, in Nairobi. So we could see that Prabhupada was living the life. He wasn't just preaching, he was living that. Seeing equally tolerant, merciful, compassionate, and giving this treasure of the Hare Krishna mantra. This chanting is so important. Let me recommend to you a YouTube. I ran into it again. And the thing that's unique about this is that I saw it when it first came out in 1971 at my parents' house. I didn't even know it was color. We didn't have color TV. It was only black and white. And so I turned on the TV. What's on David Susskind? And there was a special on the Hare Krishnas. Not only in Brooklyn. I mean, there were others who'd come from Detroit. Bhagavan was there. And the devotees are so young and so effulgent, you know, and so well spoken. So here's what you need to in your search line on the YouTube. David Susskind. David, you know how to do that one. And Susskind, Susskind. David Susskind, Hare Krishna, spelled with a Krshna, and you're sure to find it. And even if you just put Krishna in there, just without the Hare. And it's, I saw it recently for the first time after 50 years. And it was still so moving. All the people who I knew through all these years, you know, there they were, 20, 21 years old, you know, so effulgent, so happy, you know, so purified. You can see it. And so this is why we can have faith in all of these, because this is the philosophy behind the process that it works to purify the heart and brings you to a platform of peacefulness and happiness and tolerance and all these good qualities. So this is the Hare Krishna. Oh, you got some prasadam. Oh, okay, you got that. Okay. Okay, all right, we're fine. So anyway, we're getting to 8 o'clock. So this is a very important verse, and I'd like to also go to the next verse, because this one is also very often quoted. Avajananti mamudha manushim tanam ashritam padam bhavma jananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. Purport. From the other explanations of the previous verses in this chapter, it is clear that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although appearing like a human being, is not a common man. The Personality of Godhead, who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the complete cosmic manifestation, cannot be a human being. Yet there are many foolish men who consider Krishna to be merely a powerful man and nothing more. Actually, he is the original Supreme Personality, as is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Ishvarak Parama Krishna. He is the Supreme Lord. There are many Ishwaras, controllers, and one appears greater than another. In the ordinary management of affairs in the material world, we find some official or director, and above him there is a secretary, and above him a minister, and above him a president. Each of them is a controller, but one is controlled by another. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that Krishna is the supreme controller. There are many controllers, undoubtedly, both in the material and spiritual world, but Krishna is the supreme controller, Ishvarak Parama Krishna, and his body is Satchid Ananda, non-material. Satchid Ananda means eternal, full of knowledge, and full of bliss. And the wonderful thing is we have a body like that. We just have to revive it. Material bodies cannot perform the wonderful acts described in previous verses. His body is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Although he is not a common man, the foolish deride him and consider him to be a man. His body is called here Manushim because he is acting just like a man, a friend of Arjuna's, a politician involved in the battle of Kurukshetra. In so many ways he is acting just like an ordinary man, but actually his body is Satchid Ananda Vigraha, eternal bliss and knowledge absolute. This is confirmed in the Vedic language also, Satchid Ananda Rupaya Krishnaya. I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the eternal blissful form of knowledge. Gopal Tapani Upanishad 1.1. There are other descriptions in the Vedic language also. Tame kam Govindam. You are Govinda. the pleasure of the senses and the cows. Satchid Ananda Vigraham. And your form is transcendental, full of knowledge, bliss, and eternality. Gopal Tapani Upanishad 138. Despite the transcendental qualities of Lord Krishna's body, its full bliss and knowledge, there are many so-called scholars and commentators on the Bhagavad Gita who deride Krishna as an ordinary man. The scholar may be both an extraordinary man due to his previous good work, may be born an extraordinary man due to his previous good work, but this conception of Sri Krishna is due to a poor fund of knowledge. Therefore he is called Mudha, for only foolish persons consider Krishna to be an ordinary human being. The foolish consider Krishna an ordinary human being because they do not know the confidential activities of the Supreme Lord and his different energies. They do not know that Krishna's body is a symbol of complete knowledge and bliss, that he is the proprietor of everything that be, and that he can award liberation to anyone. Because they do not know that Krishna has so many transcendental qualifications, they deride him. Nor do they know that the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this material world is a manifestation of his internal energy. He is the master of the material energy. As has been explained in several places, Mama Maya Duratyaya, that's from the 7th chapter, text 14. He claims that the material energy, although very powerful, is under his control, and whoever surrenders unto him can get out of the control of this material energy. If a soul surrendered to Krishna can get out of the influence of the material energy, then how can the Supreme Lord, who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the whole cosmic nature, have a material body like us? So this conception of Krishna is complete foolishness. Foolish persons, however, cannot conceive that the personality of Godhead, Krishna, appearing just like an ordinary man, can be the controller of all the atoms and of the gigantic manifestation of the universal form. The biggest and the minutest are beyond their conception, so they cannot imagine that a form like that of a human being can simultaneously control the infinite and the minute. Actually, although he is controlling the infinite and the finite, he is apart from all this manifestation. It is clearly stated concerning his yogam aishwaram, his inconceivable transcendental energy, that he can control the infinite and the finite simultaneously, and that he can remain aloof from them. Although the foolish cannot imagine how Krishna, who appears just like a human being, can control the infinite and the finite, those who are pure devotees accept this, for they know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, they completely surrender unto him and engage in Krishna consciousness, devotional service of the Lord. There are many controversies between the impersonalists and the personalists about the Lord's appearance as a human being. But if we consult the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the authoritative texts for understanding the science of Krishna, then we can understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is not an ordinary man, although he appeared on this earth as an ordinary human. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, when the sages headed by Shonaka inquired about the activities of Krishna, they said, Kritavan Kridakarmani Saharamena Keshavaha Atimartyani Bhagavan Gudha Kapatamanushaha. Lord Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with Balaram, played like a human being, and so masked, he performed many superhuman acts. Bhagavatam 1.120. The Lord's appearance as a man bewilders the foolish. No human being could have performed the wonderful acts that Krishna performed while he was present on this earth. When Krishna appeared before his father and mother, Vasudeva and Devaki, he appeared with 4 hands. But after the prayers of the parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child. As stated in the Bhagavatam 10.346, Babhuva prakrita shishuhu. He became just like an ordinary child, an ordinary human being. Now, here again it is indicated that the Lord's appearance as an ordinary human being is one of the features of his transcendental body. In the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita also it is stated that Arjuna prayed to see Krishna's form of 4 hands, Tenaiva Rupena Chaturbhujena. After revealing this form, Krishna, when petitioned by Arjuna, again assumed his original human-like form, Manusham Rupam. These different features of the Supreme Lord are certainly not those of an ordinary human being. Some of those who deride Krishna and who are infected with the Mayavadi philosophy quote the following verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam 3:29-21 to prove that Krishna is just an ordinary man. Aham sarveshu bhuteshu bhutatma vastita sada. The Supreme is present in every living entity. We should better take note of this particular verse. Actually, this has been revised a little bit. We should better take note of the interpretation of this particular verse from the Vaishnava acharyas like Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, instead of following the interpretation of unauthorized persons who deride Krishna. Jiva Goswami, commenting on this verse, says that Krishna, in his plenary expansion as Paramatma, is situated in the moving and the non-moving entities as the Supersoul. So any neophyte devotee who simply gives his attention to the Archamurti, the form of the Supreme Lord in the temple, and does not respect other living entities, is uselessly worshipping the form of the Lord in the temple. There are three kinds of devotees of the Lord, and the neophyte is in the lowest stage. The neophyte devotee gives more attention to the deity in the temple than to other devotees. So Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur warns that this sort of mentality should be corrected. A devotee should see that because Krishna is present in everyone's heart as the Paramatma, every body is the embodiment or the temple of the Supreme Lord. So as one offers respect to the temple of the Lord, he should similarly properly respect each and every body in which the Paramatma dwells. Everyone should therefore be given proper respect and should not be neglected. There are also many impersonalists who deride temple worship. They say that since God is everywhere, why should one restrict himself to temple worship? But if God is everywhere, is he not in the temple or in the deity? Although the personalist and the impersonalist will fight with one another perpetually, a perfect devotee in Krishna consciousness knows that although Krishna is the Supreme Personality, he is all-pervading, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Although his personal abode is Goloka Vrindavan, and he is always staying there, by his different manifestations of energy and by his plenary expansion, he is present everywhere in all parts of the material and spiritual creation. So we don't have much time to discuss this very substantial purport. But this is the wonder of Srila Prabhupada's books. It's such a rich purport, you could speak for days on it. But the main idea here is that we need to have both conceptions of Krishna. You know, we don't just want to know about his majestic activities of creating and maintaining this universe. We're very, very interested in learning about his all-attractive pastimes in Goloka Vrindavan, and how he can have personal relationships with an infinite number of living entities, including us. So we each have our personal relationship with Krishna. We just need to uncover it and find it. So simultaneously, to understand Krishna's glory and his all-attractive, wonderful nature that he reveals most beautifully in Goloka Vrindavan and in Vrindavan when he comes here, and so that's the most complete conception of God, the glory of God, the all-created, all-powerful, you see, and at the same time all attractive, all loving, and full of care for his lost souls in this world, and so we can have hope. This is the only hope, really, is this. There's no hope in the material energy. It's false hope, because just like this body will degrade gradually, and there's no hope of maintaining it. This whole world will degrade, and we don't have to look very far for that. So while simultaneously working as hard as we can for becoming Krishna conscious and spreading Krishna consciousness, ultimately we know that our home is not here. That we want to try to become Krishna conscious and take as many people back with us to Goloka Vrindavan, where we'll see each other in our original forms. A cowherd boy, maybe even a cowherd girl, maybe even a cow, but they're all completely conscious. It's not as the foolish animals. They're as conscious as the so-called humans there. And Krishna has all wonderful relationships. He can call the different names of the cows with his flute. Yeah. And that's supernatural. Well, that's not, it's Krishna's. And when he comes back from the forest every day, he has a mala, like we have the japamala, but it's not names of cows. It's not the names of God that he's chanting on there. He's calling the different names of the groups of cows. It's 100,000 cows, and so they're grouped by their some feature. Like there's one Madanga Mukhi. These cows, their face is shaped like a madanga. That's one. And the different colors, I don't really know all of them, but there's 108 different groups. And within those groups, the subgroups, there's thousands and thousands. So when it's time to go back, he's got to gather all the cows. That's his job. So he calls them, sometimes alone or sometimes with his flute, and they gather, and then they come back. They come back. And it's a great festival for the gopis and Mother Yashoda when they see all that dust cloud, they hear, is that the flute sound? And they come up to the top of the houses, to the top of the house, and there's something there where they can see far. Yes, he's coming back, and hearts start beating. It's a great festival every day. That's what the temple life is going to be. It was supposed to be. In the morning, we have the kirtans, and in the evening, more kirtan. When I joined, we had this Gaur Arti, which celebrated Lord Chaitanya's being worshipped on the bank of the Ganges in Navadvip. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Yeah, we're going to have a ceremony in a few minutes if you're interested. You have to take your shoes off.
Is there someone we could speak with real quick?
David, speak to him. See what he's got going. All right, so we better quit because they're going to open that curtain. And you'll see the deities. Watch now, because we painted the deities. We had one of the most expert artists in the movement named Dhriti. And you see little difference around the eyes. And it's she did a very wonderful job. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, we had the closed curtain for this whole week. We were in separation. We couldn't see Krishna. They were being painted. Yeah. I'm sorry? Bhakta Chad. I'm glad to hear you. Are you okay, Bhakta Chad? That was a yes.
Very good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes. Are you all right?
Yeah.
When are you coming back?
Be a week or two.
Okay. All right, we'll see. We have to get ready for the arti. Haribol.
All right, sounds good. Haribol.